So we are going to do some bacon. We're going to start it curing. And I'm going to use this recipe that I got off of Ottawa Foodies, actually. OttawaFoodies.com. It uses a product, so this is the first time I am going to use nitrites in my bacon. I normally just brine my meat, brine my pork belly. I got my pork belly here. Picked it up at the butchery. We'll get into that momentarily. I normally brine my pork belly with a regular brining solution for 2 or 3 days. This time I'm going to do a cure, and I'm going to use nitrites, which is what commercial bacon uses, a lot of commercial preserved meats. And I've been reading up on this stuff. Nitrites is actually pretty nasty stuff. If you consume too much of it, it will kill you. 30 grams, I've read, will kill you. Not that anyone would normally consume 30 grams of any kind of salt all at once, but it's stuff that you don't mess with, basically. Now, one of the things that I read online was that you never want to measure this stuff with volume measures like teaspoons and so forth. And the recipe I have uses teaspoons and cups and so forth, which is clearly the wrong way to do it. It's all I have to work with right now. I could weigh this stuff out and so forth, and I will get into doing that in future batches to go by weight rather than by volume. Part of the problem is different grain sizes in the salts can cause volume measures to vary dramatically, and given that nitrites are something you don't want to mess with and you want to be careful with, you really don't want to end up with twice the amount that you had intended. So one of the problems I have is that the recipe, a lot of the recipes online refer to a product called Instacure, which is from the US. It's also called Prague Powder number 1 or pink powder, because legislation in the US makes them color it pink because it's dangerous, so that they know it's like a dangerous salt. And it has 6.25% nitrite, sodium nitrite. The product I have is made here in Canada. It's called Ready Cure, and it doesn't say on the package, but I was able to determine online that it is only 1% sodium nitrite. So it's about 1/6 the strength of the Instacure. So I have to convert it to get the same amount of sodium nitrite. So you can see here, you can probably read that, I suppose. Instacure to Ready Cure, I just did some math here. Ready Cure is only 1% nitrite. I'm going to just drop off the 0.25% and say 6 times, so I need 6 teaspoons of Ready Cure for 1 teaspoon of Instacure. So I need 12 teaspoons per 2 teaspoons that is in my recipe here. 12 teaspoons is a 1/4 cup. Now, that tells you how much nitrite you get, and the other part of what's in these products for Instacure, it's 6.25% nitrite, sodium nitrite, and the rest is salt. For Ready Cure, it gets a little bit more crazy, or a little bit crazier, because they put salt, sodium nitrite, and also sodium bicarbonate, as you can see here, which is baking soda. But since it's listed as the last ingredient, we know that it's less than 1%. So I'm just going to ignore that in my calculations, the sodium bicarbonate. It's small enough that I can just ignore it. Where are we? Yeah, so that 1/4 cup of Ready Cure is going to be basically 99% salt. So that means I got to reduce the 1/4 cup of salt, of kosher salt, down to basically 0, because really the Ready Cure is going to make up for the whole volume of salt. This 2 teaspoons of Instacure is going to be 94% salt. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a 1/4 cup of Ready Cure and reduce my extra salt down to just 1 teaspoon. And this is going to be basically this is also for 5 pounds of meat. I've got about 4 pounds of meat, slightly less. So really I should reduce it 20%. So a little bit less than a quarter cup of Ready Cure, I guess, is what I should do. 12 teaspoons, maybe what I will do is reduce down to 9 teaspoons of Ready Cure and 1 teaspoon of salt. There, that's my math, that's what I'm going to... Alright, here we go. Now I've got here some kind of rock salt that is non-iodized. I'm going to use my 1 teaspoon will be it. Non-iodized salt. You can use kosher salt, pickling salt, sea salt. Regular table salt has iodine in it. Probably not a good thing to use. I know for regular canning you don't use regular table salt. Now I'm into the Ready Cure, and I said 9 teaspoons is where I want to be with this stuff. And like I said, really not something you should typically be measuring by volume. 1, 2, 9 now. And so I did reduce the amount of salt. In theory, I should therefore also reduce the amount of sugar. So instead of a quarter cup, I don't have a smaller measure than that. But what I will do is just use slightly less than a quarter cup. So there's a quarter cup measure. Doesn't matter reducing the amount of sugar, honestly, because it's not a dangerous, outside of causing childhood obesity and all that stuff. So there's a slightly less than a quarter cup, and that's going in there. And maple syrup, same deal. Now I'm just going with the straight recipe, except for, you probably don't need a food processor to mix this, except that I am going to juice my cure up a little bit. Oh, there's a little bit I got to cut out there. Whoops. This is actually Sapphire Farms garlic from last year. I forget what kind he said it was. Oh, it smells really good though. I think it had some kind of a Russian name. I don't remember. He had a few different kinds of garlic. Let's see. I'll get rid of that skin. Alright, and now we want a quarter cup of maple syrup. This is fresh maple syrup that we made at Sapphire Farms yesterday. We spent the day there helping collect the sap and boiling it down and clearing some brush and so forth. And I am going to use just shy of a quarter cup. Get every last drop out of there. Damn, that's good. Alright, now we're going to buzzer. Get that down in there. Now, I got to resist the temptation of licking my fingers because this stuff has got the sodium nitrites in it, and it's certainly not enough to be toxic. Even if I ate that whole thing, according to the 30-gram number that I found online, I would probably not be anywhere near that. But I still want to resist the temptation of licking my fingers, which I just did.